So here we are back again then. This is our Netlify location. So I've gone back into the Netlify and you can see that we've actually now published the site again. And we can now have a look at the site again. So I'm going to go up into my overview and then look at the site. So you can see it's got a little thumbnail here. I'm clicking on that. So this is opening in. Okay, so here we have the site. And everything is as expected to be, as it was before. There's nothing changed, except that if we now go to the editor, we can now sign in to the editor with GitHub. So we've already authorized it, so we just need to do this once again. Just click authorize. Okay, so we now can see the site. You can see that we've got one blog post. This is just the sample blog post, and this is where you can just get a glimpse of what this looks like when we create a blog post or edit a blog post. Obviously, eventually we can actually get rid of this sample, but if we want to make a new blog post, this is where we actually do it. But before we do that, you'll see that now here under here we've actually got something called settings. So we're going to go into the settings panel and have a look at some very important settings in this first link here, critical settings for your website. And in here is where we want to actually do some things like change the name of the site. So typing in here, we're going to say, I mean, you know, this is what you have to do. So I'm just giving you this example. You might want to just watch me and then, you know, just pause the video or whatever, and then get into yours and have a go changing these things. So we're going to change the name of this site. So I'm going to call this as an example. You can give it a description. Now this is very important in the metadata of the site. Better just correct that mistake there, but let's just put in here okay, and then this is what you'll see here is that this particular text here appears right at above the main banner image. So I'm just going to call that something like that. Then this is actually the footer text. So at the bottom of the page, the home page, you're going to see the copyright information, and in there you probably want to put your name, unless you've decided to call yourself some sort of organization. Now I'm coming back to images in a minute. This is the banner image on the home page, so you're going to want to change this to make this site your own. Don't enable grid layout at the moment, because you've only got one post, so it won't really make a lot of difference. It won't make a lot of sense really. Images can enlarge on being clicked over. You can turn this off, but I'm suggesting you leave it on for the moment. And then also optionally you can add menu items to the top. So take note of a few things here before we save these changes that we've made. You can see up here that actually the site itself is being registered in this little link up here, and also the picture of me, that's the same picture that comes from GitHub. So if in your GitHub account you go into your profile and put a picture of you, then that's what's going to appear there. Okay, so I'm now just going to save this. So that's saving the details here. Now, the word about this, now the way that this site works is that when you publish something, or when you make a new blog post, or when you post something up here, what's going to happen is that it's going to not necessarily go straight away live, because you need to change the status of this. If you look at the status up here, you'll see that this is just in draft at the moment. So in other words, we haven't permanently changed anything yet. What we actually need to do is to make this ready. You don't need to put this in review because you're not involved with anybody else checking this out. But now that this is ready, I can now publish that change. and it's asking me, you sure you want to publish this? And so, okay, I do that. And we go back to that. Now, we can have a look at the site again in a moment, but let's just have a look at a few other things about this this CMS, this content management system, if you like. This is where you're going to do your posting of your blog, but there are some other things that you can set in here. So, for example, we've got some, if you've got social media accounts, so for example, I've got my Twitter account in here at the moment. You can change that to your own Twitter account. And as you can see, do not include the @ sign. So I'm actually just going to take this out at the moment. And also, if you've got Instagram, you can take this out. I'm going to take this out. But if you've got an Instagram account, just put that your Instagram name in there. Facebook as well, put that in there. Now we'll talk about the Discuss account later on. If you want to get people to comment on your website, then you need to create a Discuss account. But that's maybe a little bit more detail. As you can see, these are all the options that you've got. And I'm also going to now remove my my own personal email from here, although you know we can put our email in here. This is actually something that is useful if you want people to be able to email you directly from your site. But as I say, it's purely optional, as indeed are all of these things. Now also the other thing at the very, very bottom, again, it's optional, but it might be useful, particularly to me, if I'm going to help you resolve any issues with your site. If you put in your GitHub account where this site is coming from, so as you can see, if you put it in as your username and your repo name, so in my case it would be chris@brooks/ well, let's actually do it. chris@brooks/ my Brooks blog. In fact, I need to remind myself if that really is what it is. I can't remember what I said. Yes, my Brooks blog is what I actually called it. So let's make sure I've got that right. So chris@brooks/ my Brooks blog. So in other words, your username and then the name of the GitHub account. You'll see if I do that, it does mean then somebody like me, or anybody actually, because this is of course all of this is free, open access, if you like, content, so people can actually look at the code that you're using, but not, of course, change it, but they can actually just look at it. Well, more on the way that works in GitHub later on. I'm going to just save that, and also the same again as before. That's only really sort of in draft, so we can actually now go to make that ready and then publish it. So that goes live to the site. So it's made that change, which we will check in a short while. Now just another thing that we can change, if we look at the settings again, turn on some share buttons. Now what this means is that you can actually for each of your posts, people can share these. If you want to, you can say, oh, I want people to be able to share that on their Twitter account. That will just create a button on each of the posts that the blog posts that you put up, so that people can share in one of these accounts. As you can see, they're all turned off by default. So I won't actually change that now, but you can turn those on as you like. Okay, let's actually now go back to our Netlify site, and if we now look at the deploys, as it's called, you'll see that actually that's just changed. If I look at the time, you can actually see, so 5:21, that's just a minute ago changed. So our site should look slightly different now, hopefully. If we go back to an overview and click on the link. Okay, so as you can see, it's now changed the name in here, and that's just about all that's been changed. But the important thing now is that you need to start thinking about how you want this to look. Don't worry about this first post. We will get rid of that once you start posting up to your blog. But this is all of this stuff here is for you to change. So the logo in the top left, the name of the site, the information that's, the sort of main byline, if you like, in here against the image. That is something for you to change. The image itself is an important one, and I think we're going to leave that now as it is now. We're going to leave it for the next session, the next episode of these blogs. We're going to leave that so that we can actually show you how to upload an image to the site.